I want to talk for a minute about bad weather games. We've all, as kickers and punters, played in bad weather games. I just happen to have played in one of the worst weather games in NFL history. I can remember in 1994, the Green Bay Packers were playing the Chicago Bears in Monday Night Football. The temperature, if I remember right, was right around 38 to 40 degrees. The wind was at 60 to 65 miles an hour, and it was raining sideways. And it was the most miserable experience of my existence. So that's setting up the game. Getting into the game, we're going to go through some clips here that I really want to explain kind of the mindset of what you have to go into during those type of games. So this was my first playing season in the league. So the year before I was on the practice squad. So this is my first playing season. So I already had some nerves going, a little bit of pressure, put pressure on myself, which we'll talk about in a later clip. I think I had five or six punts that game. Most of them were into the wind, obviously, because the offense couldn't move. So what do you do when you get back there and the wind's blowing 65 miles an hour in your face, right to left? It's raining sideways. The ball's wet and slippery. Your feet are suctioning into the mud as you're walking out there. Well, the first thing you do, and you have to concentrate on, is just catching the snap. You have to worry about where the snap's going. The ball may move 3 or 4 yards on its way back to you, so you have to field the snap first. And when you do that, then you actually have to drop it and kick it. So all the punters know the most important part of a kick is the drop. So with a 60-mile-an-hour wind, your drop is going to be affected. So what do you do to combat that? There's several things we'll talk about later on that really helps out a lot. Let's go into the first clip, and I'll just kind of take you through the mindset that I have going out there. Our offense had just stalled. It's in the first quarter, and of course, my first punt is into the wind. Again, the first thing I'm thinking about is catching the snap. But then what do you do after the ball leaves your hand? You're at the mercy of the wind. So you try to hit it low, you try to drive it. But even into a 65-mile-an-hour wind, it doesn't go very far. So I think the yard of choice that for my punts into the wind was 27 yards. That's about all I could get it. The mindset you have to go into in this is you have to gain field position for your defense somehow. Even if it's 10 or 15 yards. In these weather conditions, that can make the difference between a touchdown or a possible field goal attempt. So the most important thing you have to do is you have to gain yards for your defense, even if it's just a little bit. So on this clip number 2, it's the same mindset. As the field conditions continue to get worse, because obviously the teams are playing on the field, there's big divots on the field, the field's getting soggier as we play. Again, just catch the snap. And this snap just happened to be low, and it skipped a little bit on me, but I was able to stop it. I do a lot of teaching on how to retrieve bad snaps in my MPK program that are really going to help you out on situations like this, because the worst thing you can do if something bad like that happens is panic. You see a bad snap, you can't panic. You got to keep your cool, and you've also still got to get a good punt off to help your defense. So, clip number 3, as you can see, the field's getting worse and worse as the game goes on. You can start to see a lot of mud out there, and it was kind of a interesting experience trying to kick in this, because even running out on the field, you could feel your shoes suctioning into the mud. And it was a really interesting game in that respect. So as a punter, when you're back getting ready to retrieve a punt, as we first start this clip, you'll notice that the opposing team has 8 guys getting ready to try to block the punt. And as a punter, when you see the outside guys are called the gunners, when you see the gunners single pressed, which is one person on them, on the outside, it's likely they're going to be coming for a block. Well, they have nothing to lose really trying to block the ball, because the ball's not going to go very far anyway. So you're not going to lose a lot of field position. So what they're trying to do as a defense is create a big play for their offense. I'm just trying to save any kind of field position for our defense. So the first thing I look at when I look over across this field is I see 8 guys coming. So I know I got to rush the punt a little bit. Great snap. We get the ball off. I just try to kick it low and drive it. And again, don't worry about the return man. And we gain another 27 yards for our defense. So this third, when they show the stats, my first 3 punts I had a long of 27 yards and 3 punts for a 27-yard average. So 27 must have been my max on that one. So this one's a little bit different because we're backed up a little bit now. So you can see I'm standing in the end zone. Things change a little bit. I know they're going to come after the punt. Again, I don't want to get the punt blocked and give them a big play to change the momentum of the game. Our defense had been playing so well that game. It was really just up to me to put them in any kind of field position because the Bears offense couldn't do anything. So again, I see 8 men up front. I see the guy coming in from the outside on the right. I see him and I know he's going to come. So I've got to get this ball off quick again. What do I mean by quick? So the normal get off time for a punt is somewhere between 2.1 to 2.2 seconds on a normal punt. Well, in situations like this, it may be 1.9 seconds, 1.8 seconds you have to get the ball off in order for it not to get blocked. So I'm not so much worried about distance and hang time here. I'm more worried about just gaining any kind of field position. So as we let this play, you'll see the guy off the right. He'll come rushing, and you'll see me kind of hurry this punt a bit. So we get the ball off, and I believe it's another 27-yard punt. This punt is the first punt I actually get to kick with the wind. The only unfortunate part for me is it's a pooch punt, so I can't kick it very far. So this is I think it's at the 35-yard line, pooch punt. The wind is, as we're looking at the screen, from right to left. So I'm going to punt this punt to the right because I'm going to use the wind to my advantage. Try to get this ball out of bounds inside the 10, 15-yard line. And you'll see me step that way so I can kick that way. So just a little line drive out of bounds. And I don't believe I got a very good spot there. I think that ball was out about the 7-yard line. But anyway, it was effective because we got it inside the 20. And that's the whole goal on a pooch punt, is to get the ball down to inside the 20-yard line. Again, second punt with the wind. Pooch punt again. Same mindset. I'm going to kick the ball right. I know they're going to be coming hard off of my right and their left. So I have to get this ball off quickly because I'm stepping right to kick the ball out of bounds to the right. So you'll see kind of the effectiveness of this punt. I don't have to worry about hang time or distance. I just try to line this ball out of bounds so there's no chance of return. And I can get these guys pinned back for our defense. Okay, we get a look now at our first kicking play. So our kicker was Chris Jackie, great kicker. Played for, 12, 13 years, 14 years in the league. Was a very effective kicker. This was my first year actually holding. I was always a kicker and a punter in college. So this is my first year actually holding full time for a kicker. And so I was still getting used to the idea of bad snaps and what to do in situations so I don't panic. And this just happened to be probably the first muffed snap that I had as a holder. But what I want to talk about a little bit is not just the holding part, but I want to talk about the mindset of a kicker as well, because it's so important for the kicker to always trust his holder. Even though it may not get down perfectly for you, you have to trust that the holder is going to get the ball in the spot where you can kick it. So the hesitation is something you can't do unless you absolutely have to. And then this instance, it was kind of a gray area because I did drop the ball, was able to pop it back up for him to kick it, but he took a stutter step and really didn't have much power height on the ball, and that's why we got it blocked. It's definitely my fault because it was a good snap. I just dropped the ball because the ball was slick, it was windy, all that stuff. But as a kicker, you just have to learn to trust your holder. You have to work so many hours, so many snaps together that you have to have this confidence in each other that the ball is going to be where it needs to be. So let's watch this clip. And we'll get a slow-mo after this of what happens during the kick, how he hesitates, how I drop the ball and pop it back up. We do get the kick off, but it's low and without a lot of power in it. So the slow-mo here is a great snap. The ball just squirts out of my hands. He hesitates. They get some penetration, and the ball gets blocked. Now, as a holder and a kicker, these are scenarios you need to play over in your head because something like this is going to happen in your career at some point. So what happens? What do you think when this does happen? You have to play this over so many times in your head that you have to act and respond naturally by either covering the ball, tackling the ball carrier, or something, slowing the ball carrier down enough to where someone else can make the tackle because the Bears at this point could have picked this ball up and ran it in for a touchdown. So it's really, really important to, before this situation happens to you, you play it over in your head so you know what to do if this, so you don't panic. That's one of the big things about punting and kicking is when something bad happens, you can't panic because if you panic, it exploits many other things, many other weaknesses that you may have. So I always teach my students in my program to play these things out in their head so many times that you act naturally when it does happen. All right, so This was how it compounds. This ball, in my opinion, was down. Yes, I got a little bit of an inside snap. I pinned the ball against the ground and I popped it up. But Chris, since the last one didn't go off the way he'd planned, he hesitated again. And this is something that, as kickers, again, you have to learn to trust your holder. Yes, something bad at some point is going to happen, but you also have to trust him the next time he holds it for you. So, as a kicker, your job depends on the holder. If the holder has a bad hold, you're going to miss your kick. So, why not trust him? Why not work with him so much? That's almost like the ball's going to be there every single time. So that's out of your mind. You have enough to worry about in your kick, trying to get the ball through the yellow poles during a kick, that you don't need to worry about somebody else's job, which is the holder's job. So that's the mindset of a kicker. But this is how a mistake compounds into the next kick, is that, yes, he saw me bobble the hold before that. This one, I didn't necessarily bobble it, but it wasn't a great snap, and he hesitated. So anyway, trust your holder at all times. All right, so I want to talk a little bit right now about what to do if something like this does happen. Again, we talk about playing this over in your head before it happens so that you don't panic. So with Chris not kicking this ball, it's my job now to either throw the ball away or to try to score 2 points, to try to make a big play out of this bad play. So I roll out to the left. I have a receiver that I yell a fire call to. A fire is a call, a universal call pretty much that every team uses on a bad snap like this, that it tells eligible receivers to go out on their specific routes they're supposed to run that we practice every week. So when this happens, I see Chris not kick it. I roll out. The kicker tries to block somebody for me, and our receivers go out in their patterns, and I try to throw the ball to them, or I throw the ball away. Well, in this instance, what I believe happened is I threw the ball to a receiver, but it was pass interference. So we got to actually re-kick this ball. So this is what I'm talking about, making something bad into something good. We didn't make a huge mistake here. They did, because we knew what to do. We didn't panic. We knew what to do. So they made the penalty. We got to re-kick it, and I believe we made the extra point. In this last clip, you can really see the field conditions and how bad they were. And I think they show a close-up here in a minute of me trying to stomp down these massive divots these guys are putting in the field so that I can actually just walk and not get stuck in the ground. So there it is right there. You can see how nasty it is and how squishy the field is. And it was just, it was the worst conditions I think I've ever seen. But we survived and we thrived because we didn't panic, and that's the whole key to playing in games like this. So just to recap, kind of what we talked about during these clips, the mindset you have to have going into games like this is you have to gain positive yards for your defense. For kickers, you have to trust your holder. Yes, the hold may not be perfect, but the holder is doing his best to get the ball there for you. So trust him on that. Doing the little things right, making your extra points and short field goals. Everything else is a bonus in this situation. If you make a 20 or 30-yard field goal in these conditions, that's just a bonus. So use the elements to your advantage. Challenge the punt returners. Don't necessarily worry about how far you kick the ball, how high you kick the ball, because the opponent return man is dealing with the same conditions that you are. And the biggest key is don't give up a big play. Fumbled snap, block punt, do anything you can to gain positive yards for your team. So that's the mindset you have to have going into these crazy games like this. I look forward to talking with you in depth about these situations in my MPK program. But until then, let's keep kicking.